the one, the only, Ben Good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube Just Outfit. Today we continue with Gittin, Daf Lamed Zayin number 37, as we continue talking about Pruzbul and all the ramifications of Pruzbul. And we'll also on Lamed Zayin and Base start talking about Avodim Knainim, freeing Avodim Knainim. We'll get into that a little bit because this Masechta is called Gittin. Gittei Noshim and Gittei Avodim. It's really what most people say. And in Iyod Ben Sion, we'll elaborate on what I talked about yesterday about the difference in a milval pat and a milval shtar. We'll discuss today. There's two types of milval shtar, and there's two types of achrayas, two types of liens you could have in a shtar, and it really depends the halacha. What type of lien? Is it a specific type of lien, or is it a universal type of lien? We'll talk about that. You're not going to want to miss this. It's really a continuation of yesterday's really groundbreaking share. This is going to be an extension to help further analyze this. This is an important concept for all of Hilchos Choshen Mishpat, because so often people lend people money. You have to know these things about lending money. If you do it merely through verbal commitment or you do it on paper, there's big differences. Let's get into it. Lamed Vavam Mabez. The last line. My Pruzbul. What's Pruzbul? What does the word Pruzbul mean? Where did it come from? Pruzbuli ubuti. It's something which is for the benefit of rich people and poor people. Right? We said the rich people, so they'll get their money back, and the poor people, they should be able to borrow money. Top of Lamed Zayin Aleph, Buli elu ashirim. That's a reference to ashir, rich people. D'chsiv v'shavarti as gonus. The pasuk says that Hashem will destroy the people that are haughty. Rav Yosef said about this pasuk, Elu bulo shabi. Those are the people that are considered rich. The rich people in Yehuda, they're haughty. Their money gets to their head. Huti elu aniyim. Those are poor people. D'chsiv havet yavi tavitenu. It says in the Torah you should lend them money. Who do you lend money to? A poor person. Amalei Rava leleuza. Rava said to a translator, "My pruzbul. What does it mean, pruzbul? Amalei porsa de milsa." He says it means an adjustment of the matter. Basically, there was a halacha, and Pruzbul alters the halacha. Amar of Yudah, Amar Shmuel. Yisom Menein Srichen Pruzbul. We're going to see a lot of people don't need a Pruzbul. Basically, orphans. Some people say it's only minors. Some people say even if it's over the age of 13, they inherited their father, inherited a debt. Someone owes them money, right? So they don't have to write a Pruzbul. They can collect. Why? The Gamliel based Dino Avian Shal Yisomin. Gamliel and his Basin, who made all these takanas, they are representative of a Basin, and they're like a Basin, right? Just like we're going to learn, Pruzbul is document you give over to Basin. We'll also learn today about something that works with Al Raisa, most of Sharos of the Basin. If you just give over the loan document into Basin, Basin can collect. You can't collect the loan. Basin can collect the loan for you, so Basin collects the debt for the Yisomim. Now, the only debt you can collect is something with real estate. You can't collect monetary things because there's no, you don't have the ability to collect a debt unless it's real estate. If it's movable objects, or it's money, you can collect it. There's a mitzvah it's a mitzvah for the person to pay. I'm sorry, that's talking about getting confused. That's talking about if the debtor actually passes away. Here, the debtor presumably is still alive. The debtor is still alive. Then they have an ability to collect whether it's real estate or it's monetary, movable objects. But if the debtor were to die and the Yorshim want to collect from them, they only collect real estate. They would be entitled. There's a mitzvah on the Yisomim to pay their father's chov, but it's not an obligation. It's not something which they can collect in Beis Din. Tanan Hassam, we learned over there in the Mishnah Maseches Shvius, Ein kosen pruzbul ela al karka. If you want to write a Pruzbul, basically entitling you to collect your loan past Shvius, after Shemitah is over, it has to be that there was land involved, right? The person who owes you money, part of the money he owes you, there's some sort of lien on the land. If the debtor has no land, when he makes the loan, he should give over a little bit of his field. So he should have karka to pay back. What's considered kosher? Amarav Chia bar Ashi, Amarav Afilu Klach Shel Kruf. Even a small amount to just produce a stalk of cabbage, that's okay. Because as we're going to see, right, all kinds of the principles you're collecting, it's easier to collect a debt when there's real estate. As I mentioned yesterday, when there's a debt, there's a lien on property and real estate. So the shtar that you're holding, in certain instances, gives you possession of the thing. It's easier to take money. It's not called motzi mamon. The shtar is representative of the land of the debtor that you already have in your possession. That's why it's important. When there's a second prosbal, it has to be on the karka. Amar Rav Yehuda, afilu ishilo makom l'tanar kirayim kosan prosbal. Doesn't have to actually be in the ground. Even if you basically say you can use a part of my oven or my stove, those are things which are movable objects. You don't move them normally. They're on the ground, so it's considered karko. It's considered part of the ground. And it's true. Atani Hillel ain't kosan prosbal atzis nakov bilvad. Hillel says you can only write a prosbal on atzis nakov, a plant that has a hole in the bottom which gets its nourishment from the ground. That's considered karka. But a stove or an oven top is not considered karka. Nakovin, nakov, just the fact that the plant is lying on the ground. If we have a big plant lying on the ground, but it doesn't have a hole and doesn't get its nourishment from the ground, it's not karka. Amai, va'ika makoma, but you have the place, right? It's a big tree. It's in a pot. It's set in its place. He was talking about where you have a pot where it's being held up by pegs. It's not lying on the ground. If it was lying on the ground like a Tanur Kirayim, then it would be okay. It would be karka. Rav Ashi machnile gidma de dikla. Rav Ashi, when he would write a prutbol, and the person had no real estate, he would give him a stump of a palm tree. The cost of a prutbol, he'd write based on that a prutbol. Rabbanon in the Rav Ashi masri milayu lahadade. The Rabbanon in the Academy of Rav Ashi, they didn't actually write a physical document of a prutbol. They just said to each other, I'm going to collect my loan. Rabbi Yonasan Masar Mili Rabbi Yonasan, he told Rabbi Chia bar Abba he plans on collecting the loan. He said, do I need anything else? Do I have to write it down? Lo srichas. You don't have to. Let's say the man who you're lending money does not own land. So you can't make a lien on the land with the debt. The cosigner does. Cosigner allows prosbal. You could. Let's say neither him nor the cosigner has any land. However, someone is obligated, is indebted to the debtor. Money, cosigner prosbal. Still, you can let it prosbal. Rav Nasan learned that at the principle of Rav Nasan. The sign Rav Nasan Omer minayin lenoshe b'chavero mana b'chavero b'chavero minayin shemotzim is v'nosan lazeh. Let's say Reuven owes Shimon money and Shimon owes Levi money. So Levi can go ahead and collect. If Shimon doesn't have the money to pay, he can go back to Levi and collect from Levi. Levi owes money to Shimon. Same thing over here. You write a prosbal because the debtor has someone who's indebted to him. Talmud Omer, we learn from a pasuk. You give it to the person who's guilty. Tanan Hasam. Hashvius, we learn from Hashvius. Hashvius is a milva bein mishtar bein shelo b'shtar. Shvius cancels a loan on a doraisa level, whether the loan is in a document or not in a document. So we have two opinions of what this means. Rav Shmuel Armit Ravayu b'shtar shtar sheyesh b'achrayas. Shtar means a document, a legal document, where it's written, right, a lien on real estate. Shelo b'shtar she'ein bo achrayas nachasa. Shelo b'shtar is even a written document. There's no lien written in the shtar. Kol shekein milva pen, certainly a loan which is just witnessed by witnesses, but there's no actual written document. Rabbi Yochanan Rishon Melakish da Armit Ravayu b'shtar shtar she'ein bo achrayas. Shtar means shtar where there's no lien. It's not written a lien. Nachasim shelo b'shtar. That's talking about Shalom B'shtar is where there's actually no written document. It's just witnesses who saw the loan. However, this is the nafkamin. According to Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, a shtar that has achrayas nachasim, like we mentioned, I talked about yesterday, there's a lien in that, so it's already like the shtar representative. I'm holding the person's land. Right, I'm holding the person's land. I don't have to collect that debt. The debt is already collected. It's in my hands. Right? So when I go and collect with that document that has a lien on the property, that property is already, I'm muhsak on that property. That's not collecting a loan. That's not a violation of Shemitas Ksafim. So the Gemara will get into this a little more. Tanya Gavase Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon Lakish. A price accords Yochanan Shlakish. Shtarchov Mishami. Shtarchov cancel loan. Yeshba Achrayas Nachasa, ain't no Mishami. It has Achrayas Nachasa, it's not. Tanya Idach, another brisa. Siyim Lo Soda Achas Behalvaso. If he designated one field to be the lien to be on that field, right? Ain't no Mishami. There's no halacha of shmitas ksafim. You can collect. Lo, kol nichsai achrayin v'arvayin la. He says all my property, all my real estate, any property that I have, right, is co-signed to you to pay for this loan. If I can't come up with the payment, ain't no mishamid. It's not mishamid. Krive de Rabbi Asi havalei hahu shtara. The relative Rabbi Asi had a certain shtar to have a kasav be'achrayas nachasa. It had written in the document that there was a lien on property. Now it doesn't say a lien on one piece of property or a lien in general on all his property. This is an important distinction I'm going to talk about in Yom Ben Sion. So it didn't. It had a ksiva achrayas nechasim. I was talking about the Rav Asi. He went for Rav Asi. I'm allowed to mishamit, ain't a mishamit. Am I allowed to collect or not? I'm allowed to mishamit. Right? You're allowed to collect. It doesn't cancel the loan. Shavkei va'asa l'gmei Rabbi Yochanan. He went to Rabbi Yochanan. I'm allowed to mishamit. Rabbi Yochanan said it is mishamit. You can't collect the loan. Asa Rabbi Asi l'gmei Rabbi Yochanan. Amarle, I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. Rav Asi, after he gave the psak, he went to Rav Yochanan. Shavki asked him to Rav Yochanan. Amarle mishamit. I'm sorry. No, the person who was asking the question, Rav Asi said that you can collect it. Rav Yochanan said you can't collect it. Asa Rav Asi l'kamei Rav Yochanan. So the Rav Asi, who was the first rabbi, asked, he went to Rabbi Yochanan, Amarle Meshamet and Meshamet. What's Allah? Amarle Meshamet. You can't collect it. So he asked Rav Asi, asked Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Hu da Amar, Ain't a Meshamet. We had Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish said before that if shtar has achrayas nechasim, we said it does not cancel the loan. You can collect. Amar le Meshamet, Amar Hu da Amar Ain't Meshamet. Amar le Yochanan Yechanu Medam and Nasa Maisa. Just because we're making comparisons, we're going to do an action. Now, it's not clear what he meant over here, Rabbi Yochanan. Yochanan says basically what Chazal say a lot. You can't be Madam Milsa Milsa. You can't just assume cases are similar. If there are intricate differences between them, we can't just assume cases are similar. He doesn't explain what he said over here. And even Rashi is a little bothered. Rashi tries to give an explanation on the Hoti Mamon Miyad, and we're not sure what he said. Right? We're not sure what does Rabbi Yochanan mean? Madam Milsa. That's what the question was. What is Rabbi Yochanan saying? How can we compare the cases? That's the case you were talking about. Ashtar sheyesh ba'achrayas nechasa. You said before, Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish said before that you can collect that loan. Ain't no mishamit. Doesn't cancel that loan. So what is Rabbi Yochanan saying over here? Amar Leis, he said, Rabbi Yochanan, Tanya Kavase. We have two brises like Rabbi Yochanan. Gemar, Amar Le Dilma Hi Beit Shammai. Now it says Dilma Hahi Beit Shammai. It says maybe that brise. There were two brises. Maybe one of the brises follows Beit Shammai. Damri Shtar Omid Lagabos Gabo Dami. Beit Shammai holds. Beit Shammai argues on them that if I'm holding a shtar, they're talking about a ksuba. If I'm holding someone's holding a ksuba, so therefore, since I have the right to collect, and Rabbanan made a takana by ksuba that all of the nechasim of the husband are achrayin, right? They're all responsible to pay back the loan. There's a lien on his entire property, his entire estate. So it's like I'm already holding the loan, right? The burden of proof is on the man to take it out from me. And there's various halachas based on that. Beit Shammai holds. We don't hold it by Shammai, we hold it by Yisrael. It's not awesome. We learned over there. Hamal ve'es chavero mos al mashkom, and mos hashtaros al beis in meshamtin. It says in Shvius that two other cases where there's no shmitas ksafin. If I lend money and I take a collateral, I have a mashkan, I'm holding on to that, or I have a loan document, I go to a basin, I give it, you collect it for me. You can collect, the basin collect, you're not collecting it. Whereas Bishlam Moshe Shtaros the basin, the tafsil hu beidina, right? You're not, the Torah says, lo yigos, you can't go and ask for repayment. A basin could. Ella milval mashka my time. Just because you're holding a collateral, what does that help? Amar Rava mishum the toughest lay. Because when I'm holding collateral, it's already mine. The collateral is mine, right? So I can hold on to the collateral until he pays me. Let's say I lend someone money and I happen to be living in his chutzner, right? Because I'm living there, that makes it that loan shouldn't be canceled. It's not true. The Gemara Masiyah says it's not. It's not in fact true. You can't collect on that loan. Shiny mashka. Mashka is different. The kani lay. you're actually kona mashka. When someone gives you collateral, even though obviously the collateral, holding on to the collateral is dependent on him not paying. If he pays, you have to give the collateral back. As long as he has not repaid the loan, it's yours. The comment of the Balchov, how do you know Balchov acquires the mashka? Pasuk's talking about if you take a collateral from a person who owes you money, let's say you take his pajamas, you should give it back to him at night, and it'll be a stucco for you. It'll be a reward for you if you give it back to him. It ain't no kona if it doesn't belong to him. Stucco minai. You can't do stucco without your money. It's not your money. It must belong to him. Tan Hassam. We learned over there, top of Layam Zayin, Amud Beis, Hamaxir Chov L'Chavero B'Shviyas Sarach Sheyomer Lo Mishaneyani. Someone who returns money to his friend, no, not B'Shviyas, after Shviyas, the last day in Shemitah year cancels the loan. So after Shemitah, right, he should say to him, right, he goes, I'm going to pay you the loan, even though he doesn't have to do this, right? He doesn't have to go and offer the money, but you should say to him, I can't collect it. He says, nonetheless, I want you to have it. Then you could take it. It says Dvar Shmita, the words, right? You should say orally, I'm not collecting. Then if he insists, you can collect only one time Dvar. Amar Rabba, however, the halacha is basically we force, right? If the guy comes and offers money, and the person, the creditor says, can't collect from you, we make sure the person insists and says, Afal Pika, I want to give it to you. We make sure, he says, because really he wants the money. Abaye says a question from Abraisa, when he's returning it to him, right, when he says Afal Pika, I'm giving it to you, he can't say I'm giving it to you as a chov, as an obligation. Really the money's mine, I'm giving you a present. So you see what? It doesn't say, right? He has to get it at his own goodwill. We don't force him. We force him until he says, and of his goodwill, I want to give it to you as a present. Now, I think this only really applies if the person, right, comes and insists on paying, right? He doesn't have to come and pay, right? She cancels the loan. The debtor does not have to come to the creditor and say, I want to pay you. Once he's already engaged in that, then we basically force him to pay because he already, out of his goodwill, he wanted to pay, so we let him go with where he was going. But if he didn't come, I don't think we force him to pay back the loan. Abba Bar Marsa, two Abba Bar Yomi, another name of his was Abba Bar Yomi. You have a Masik Bey Rabba Zuzi. Rabba, he owed money to Rabba. I seen him in the Hale B'Shvius. He brought the money to him after Shvius happened. Amrle Meshaman, he said, I practiced Shemitah. You don't have to repay me back. Shaklinahu. Abba Bar Marsa took the money, went back home. Azal. Asa Abaye went. Ashkechei to have a atziv. He saw Rabba. It was apparently a large sum of money. He was very sad. Amrle Amay Atziv. Why are you so sad? Amrle Haki have a mais. He told him what happened. Azal Lagabe. So Abaye wanted to fix the matter. He went to Abba Bar Marsa. Amrle Amatid Le Zuze Lamar. Did you bring money to give back to him? Amrle in. Yeah. Amrle Omay Amar Lacha. What did he say? Amrle Meshaman, and he told me the halacha. Like, you can't collect. Amrle Amart Le'afal Pike. And did you say, unless I want to give you the money? Amrle Lo. I didn't say that. Amrle Amart Le'afal Pike and have a shaklinu enough. If you would have said that, would he have taken for you? Yeah, he probably would have. Hashta Mias Amtinu Nahale Ve'emalei Afal Pike. Here also, this is basically a way of the Gemara saying forcing. You cajole the guy to go back and say, Afal Pike, I still want to give it to you. Azal Amtinu Nahale, he brought it back to him. Amrle Afal Pike, he told him, nonetheless, I want to give it to you, even though you said that it's Shemitah. Shaklinu Minei, he took it. Amar Lo Hava Bayi Daita Bahai Tzurma Rabbanan Mikara. Rabba, when he observed this, he said, this Talmud Chacham didn't really know the halachas. Our Marshal Talmud Chacham should have known the halachas, that if you're going to offer it, you have to really offer it, right? If you're going to have to offer it, he has an obligation to say, it's Shemitah money, I'm not taking it, Shemitah cancels the loan, but I have to go ahead and give it anyway. That's the right way of acting. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav Nachman, Neman Adam Lomar Pruzbal Yabiyadi Avin Mimani. A person is believed to say, he comes after Shemitah, I had a document, a loan document, a Pruzbal, that I could collect, but I lost it. My time, why do we believe him? Came on the Kin Rabbanan Pruzbal, we presume there's a chazakah, an assumption that you wrote a Pruzbal. Right? If there was no way of collecting your loan, so If he said, I try to collect it, I try to collect it, or before Shvius or something like that, and I collected it. They have a dispute before Shvius happens, so there's no heter for him. But here he has a heter of collecting it after Shemitah with a prosbol, so we assume he did write a prosbol, he just lost it. My time. I came to the Rabbanon prosbol, okay, also came to Rav. I came in front of Rav. Amalei midi prosbol hayolach va'avad. They did even more. A person came and he said, I want to collect a loan, but Shemitah happened. So Rav would introduce to him, maybe you had a prosbol and you lost it. He would at least advise him. Maybe the guy would say, yeah, I did. This is a type of case, even though normally a court is not allowed to be a lawyer for one person, right? They're not allowed to introduce claims for one litigant. They have to introduce those claims themselves. In this case, we do this for them. Because the whole takana of prosbol is we want to make sure as many loans are collected, because the whole takana was we want people to lend out their money. If people write a prosbol and they lose it, or they forget, that it's okay to lose the prosbol and collect the money, so people are going to stop lending out money. That's why they were very forceful, Chazal. They want you to be able to collect in all circumstances, as long as you are a prosbol. Tanan, v'chei balchov, says in the Mishnah, v'chei balchov shemoti shtarchov v'enimo prosbol harei li yifru. The Mishnah says a balchov that takes out a shtar, right, takes out a loan document, doesn't have a prosbol, and Shvi is passed. He can't collect. So the Mishnah says he can't collect. So when it says tonight, it's actually Malchus Tanayim. The Tanya Motzi Shtarchov Sarach Sheimo prosbol. Tanakama says he needs a prosbol. Chum Omrim Eno Sarach. Chum say, like all these Rabbanim are saying, you don't need a prosbol. You can say that you lost it. The Bryce is even saying, moreover, even if you're not saying you lost it, I think that's part of what Rav is saying. Psach Pichal Alim. It basically says, even if you didn't write a prosbol, we're going to act on your behalf and collect the prosbol, which is really part of what the Gemara said before. The Yisomim, who didn't write a prosbol, Basin acts on their behalf. Basin acts on everyone's behalf and collects a loan for anyone, even if you didn't write the prosbol. The Gemara said before, you can just tell people in your base medrash that I'm writing a prosbol. I want a prosbol, even though you didn't write it down. Words are not effective to make a status, especially if you tell it to one person. So you see, basically, with any means necessary, a prosbol, even if it's not written, the takana is a takana of prosbol. Prosbol is there. And even if you didn't write a prosbol, the halacha should be able to collect a loan nowadays in order to make sure that people lend out their money and they're not worried about getting their mony back. The Mishnah says, Eved Shenishba, a new set of halachas about avodim. Eved Shenishba, an Eved that was captured by Goyim, Upado, and someone ransomed him. Emlashum Eved, when he ransomed him, he had in mind they should be an Eved Yishtabed. He goes back to being an Eved. Emlashum Ben Chorin, when he ransomed him, he had in mind the Eved should be free, Lo Yishtabed. He doesn't go back to being an Eved. Rishon Leo Omer Benkach or Benkach Yishtabed, whichever one even if he had in mind to be a Ben Chorin, he still goes back as an Eved. We'll see an Eved of the first master or the person who ransomed him, which would be the second master. The Gemara says, Maya Skina, what are we talking about? If we're talking about he ransomed the Eved before the first master, right? He was lost. He was taken captive. Did he give up hope or not? We're going to learn that Yeush, right, just giving hope of something, in certain respects, it's kona, or at least partially kona. Someone steals something from you, and you're meyayesh, or you have a metzia. You lost something, and meyayesh. Yesh works. Yesh, at least by metzia, you don't have a right to that anymore. The person can take it and put it into his own pocket, even though it used to belong to you. Yesh separates your rishus partially from it, and by avodim also. Once you're miyayish over your eved, kilu the eved is freed. So if we're talking about lifnei yesh, the owner hasn't despaired of finding him. L'shum ben chorin amar lo yishtabed. Right? If he ransoms him for a ben chorim, the ransomer, right? Because he does it to free him, but he still belongs to the first master, so he should be an eved to the first master. El achar yesh must be talking about the first master gave up hope. L'shum eved. So then, if he ransoms him for an eved, amar yishtabed. The Gemara is assuming, why should he be an eved to the first person, the first master? The first master gave up on him. Amar Abaye. So there's two answers. Abaye and Rav are going to give two answers to understand our Mishnah. Amar Abaye, l'olam lifnei yesh. Really, our Mishnah is talking about before yesh. The master did not give up hope. L'shum eved yishtabed l'rabo rishon. If he ransoms him, right, for the purpose of being an eved, he'll be mishtabed for the first Rav, the first master. L'shum ben chorin. If he ransoms him with in mind for him to be an chorin, lo yishtabed, lo l'rabo rishon, lo l'rabo sheni. He's not going to be an Eved, not to the second master, because he ransomed him to be free, and he's not going to give a slave to the first master either. L'Rabo Sheni Lo Dahal L'Shum Ben Chorin Parke. The second master, he tended to freedom. L'Rabo Rishon Namui Lo. Even though technically he should still be an Eved of the first master, Dilma Mimni Velo Parki. Nonetheless, the Rabbanon instituted, because it's a similar concept, Hefker based on Hefker, the Rabbanon instituted that he should go back to the first master. That ransomers are not going to want to ransom. If they ransom, a lot of times they ransom to free the slave. And if he's going to have to go back to the first master, they're not going to ransom them. We want Avodim to be ransomed, because when Avodim are taken captive by non-Jews, they can't do any of the mitzvahs. When they're under the mastery of a Jewish owner, so they're chayav in mitzvahs like a woman. So taking away from mitzvahs, that's one of the concerns over here. Shinglil Omer, Shinglil argues in the Mishnah, in either case, he should be mishtabek. Kasavar, kishem mitzvah liftos es bnei chor, and kach mitzvah liftos es ha'avad. Right? What was the whole reason the Rabbanan Tanakama says Evil Shum Ben Chor? We know it doesn't go back to the Rabbo Rishon. Why not? Because people are not going to want to ransom if they don't get what their will, that they want them to be freed. He says no, they want people to do this. Shinglil doesn't want people to do it because there's a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah to be podeh avadim. So he was going to want to do it. He'll want him at least to go back to the first master and to be an Eved. At least he'll get to keep the mitzvahs of a woman, like a woman. Rava Amar gives a different understanding of our Mishnah. La'olam la'achar yesh. Really, our Mishnah is talking about after yesh. The master gave up hope. L'shum Eved yishtabed l'rabo sheni. When it says in the Mishnah he ransoms him to be an Eved, he's not an Eved to the first master. He's an Eved to the second master. L'shum ben chorin lo yishtabed lo l'rabo rishon lo l'rabo sheni. If he's does it for ben chorin, to neither l'rabo sheni lo dahal l'shum ben chorin parke. Right? He doesn't want him. He wanted him freed. The Rabbi Rishon Nami Lo the Halachar Yesh. The first one does not entitle to him because he already gave up. He lost control over his Eved. The Halachar Yesh, however, Shimon Gamliel Omer Benkach Ubenkach Yishtabed. He says in either case, he does go back to being Eved. The Chizkiah, the Amar Chizkiah Abnima Amro Benkach Ubenkach Yishtabed. Chizkiah explained the rationale of Shimon Gamliel. Why does he always say he has to go back to being an Eved? Shlo Yehei Kol Echad V'Echad Holech Umapa Atzmo L'Gaisos Mafki Atzmo B'Yad Rabbo. Right, if basically a ransomer would ransom and become actual free, all of them, they don't want to be under the mastery of a master. They would go among the non-Jews. They would join the armies of the non-Jews. Someone would ransom, they'd go free. So therefore, we made sure that at least the Rabbo Sheni, he goes back as an Eved, even though he was porik him, even though we redeemed him to be a Ben Chorin. Meisive, a question from Baisa. Amalem Shring Lil, Kashen Shemitzah Liftos Ben Chorin, Kach Mitzvah Liftos Avodim. This Brisa explains Rosh Gamliel's rationale. Whereas Bishlam Allah Abaye, this version of the Brisa makes sense according to Abaye. Damar Lifnei Yesh. He says our Mishnah is talking about before Yesh. Hainu Degamar Kashem. That's exactly what he was saying, right? That's the reasoning we explain Rosh Gamliel according to Abaye. Ella L'Rav, according to Rav, Damar Lachar Yesh. Hai Kashem Mishum Dechizkiyahu. The reason Rosh Gamliel says Benkach Ubenkach Mishtabed has nothing to do with a mitzvah. It has to do with Chizkiyah. We want to make sure Avodim don't go ahead and join non-Jewish armies. Chizkehu, Amar Lecha, Rav would tell you, Rosh Gamliel had no idea what the Rabbanan were saying. They didn't know the reason of the Rabbanan. He didn't know he's talking about Lifnei Yesh Alachar Yesh. So if you're talking about, the Mishnah is talking about before Yesh, that's what you're talking about. Hainu Kishem. My response to you, they should still be an Eved, because of Kishem, because of mitzvah. If you were talking about Lachar Yesh like Rava, Kidde Chizkiah. Then the reason, like Chizkiah, is reasoning that Benkach Ubenkach Yishtabed. With that, we'll conclude today's share. Stay tuned for email events. There's a lot to talk about with Avodim over here, but I'm not going to leave that. And I had a lot to talk about a Pruzbol over here. I basically said what I had to say about Pruzbol. The fact that Pruzbol works even without a document. Basically, it works automatically nowadays. That part I already talked with the regular share. I want to focus on what I talked about yesterday in email events, and explain it a little more in depth about Harayas Nechasim. There's different types of Acharayas Nechasim, and it makes a difference when Shvius is Mishame and when Shvius is not Mishame. We'll explain a cryptic Gemara over here. Ian Ben Sion coming up next.